Greetings.
Greetings once again.
Greetings, fellow Earthlings.
Greetings, fellow Earthlings.
This is the makeup class because we just had some very intense messages to share via Facebook Live, and the majority of the feed was very choppy. And we're going to try to give you the Cliff Notes version from this other recording. Do we want to do a backup recording?
Yeah. So, and just to explain a little bit about the choppiness. So if you all experience something like this when you are given a live or something like that, just know that we are ascending into a higher frequency, aka the fifth dimension, and we're also moving up in density. And you have density, and density is affecting your actual body. So the higher we are in density, the lighter we become. The lower we are in density, the heavier we are. And if you have been living in a lower frequency, meaning a reality where you were struggling and it's been like hard times, aka the hood, that will lower your density. That lowers your frequency, and it causes your life to be a lot slower and a lot harder. So when you have certain people like us, we're given this message, we're actually feeling a lot lighter. We feel super light in our frequency, and there's a lot of light coming in the room.
Yeah, and we've actually been having a very positive experience during this whole crisis.
Yeah. So because we're coming from a lighter frequency, whenever it comes time to giving messages into lower frequencies,
i.e. Facebook,
it's always like a battle. It's like a battle, and it's like the battle of the invisible energies, trying to meld with each other. So this is the reason why we're doing this remix video outside of the live, so that you guys can at least get the points, like she said, a lot clearer. Also, I love you, I forgive you, I accept you, and I allow you.
So, clearing the crown. That's what we really wanted to talk about. One of the main points I wanted to talk about was, in the current situation, we very clearly are having a splitting of timelines. And some people are experiencing a timeline that's very negative, that's very painful, that's very sad, that's very scary. There are some people who are actually infected with the virus. And let's have compassion for that. At the same time, there are people who have done a lot of spiritual work, and they're in a situation where they're not going to contract the virus. They're not going to experience that. Some of those people are choosing to, investigate the conspiracy theories and look at the bigger picture. The fact that this virus is clearly a bioweapon. This is something that was manufactured in a lab. This isn't a natural organic thing that happened on its own. People are investigating the fact that there's more going on behind the scenes than any of the black mirrors and mainstream media are showing us. So it's not either you go into the timeline of despair and pain and you don't dare talk about it being a conspiracy because that's offensive. At the same time, you don't polarize into, just ignoring the fact that there are conspiracies, there's spiritual warfare going on, and there's just negative, non-human entities that have infiltrated the planet, the governments, and they're parasiting us. And this is our opportunity to really get sober about that. The other message that I shared is that there's been a lot of fake news about humanity for many, many, many generations. And this fake news says that humanity is vermin, that we're a scourge on the planet, that we're hopeless, that we don't learn, that we're selfish, that we're polarized to the negative service to self. And that's just blatantly false. Humanity is full spectrum. And what we have experienced of humanity is a traumatized, colonized humanity that's been purposefully, methodically split from its own higher self. So we don't actually really know what humanity is capable of yet. We haven't really seen what real humanity is yet. We've only seen the distorted, traumatized version. So we can't allow those past experiences to cloud our perception of what is actually possible.
Yes. Yes. Well said.
You're not talking because you want this to be very brief.
Well, and also, I mean, I was just listening because that was well said. And, you know, me, I got to come with the solution, right? So, what's the solution to all of this? Clearing the crown, the corona. The corona is the crown. You know, removing our old belief systems, removing this, the limitation, removing the reality, removing those just rememberings of when our teachers and the so-called people that were above us told us that we couldn't do a thing. Because now we're moving into a reality to where anything is going to be possible, because we are no longer going to be operating from our lower centers. Humanity is literally moving up into the heart space come 2027. When we reach this heart space, we are now going to be given access to the energy of living a life based on what it is that you love. And living a life based on what it is that you love is supremely different than living a life based on survival, based on I just got to get my basic needs met, you know, and then I die.
Yeah, and because there's only lack and competition, I have to make horrible compromises and sell myself out to get those needs met. That was the distortion.
Yes. We were literally in what we call the cross of planning from 1781.
I thought it was even 1600s, I heard.
Oh, it was really,
It's been hundreds of years
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, but officially, you know, it really anchored in 1781 up until 2027. So from 1781 and possibly even before, all the way up until 2020, we have been in what you call the cross of planning. And when we talk about this cross, so the cross is literally like what we all have been brought and born into. When we incarnated onto the planet, we incarnate right dead in the center of the cross. So we come in through this cross, and these crosses are like our mission. So humanity is like on this mission. I would say the planet is on this mission of enlightenment, of expansion. So we're literally going through these chakra centers. Each time we go through a chakra center, we learn something, we gain something new, we expand as a society. Now we're in the solar plexus, and we're mastering the energy of the solar plexus, which is the energy of truth and wisdom. So
and the emotions.
So we've been in what you call the cross of planning, which is the cross of bargaining, making deals. And this is, you know, you marry my son, you know, and I'm going to get him to marry your daughter, and then that's going to be the way that our kingdoms come together and not fight.
Even though that son and daughter don't actually want to get married.
Yeah, don't even know each other from a can of paint. So this bargaining reality, this bargaining away your life, selling your soul type of a reality, so that you can just experience comfort in your own skin.
Or just survival
period. That reality is crumbling. And it has to crumble because at the next higher octave, we go from the cross of planning into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And this is the cross of self-leadership, self-activation. This is the cross of you activating the divine avatar within. So it's super important that we understand what true unity means. And this coronavirus energy, or this corona energy, is allowing us to, one, remove all of the false programs that no longer serve, but it's also serving as a unifying agent. to where now we're going to the parks, we're seeing a whole bunch of people with their family. It's just unity all everywhere. Neighbors helping each other out, if checking to see if anyone needs anything. Like
Mhm.
it's been so much love
Mhm.
being poured in our community here in Colorado,
Mhm.
and I can just only imagine in other places.
Mhm.
So this is really showing us our next step in working together as a unified front. And as you can see, our world isn't really crumbling, meaning our houses aren't breaking down, but the false structures that we thought that was holding it up is.
Mhm.
So we're moving into this phoenix, and we're rising from the ashes because we were asleep. So this message is about waking you up. This is the wake up call, right? This is the time to change your mind, to change your belief systems, to open up to things that you've never heard before, to try things that you've never done before, to open up into new ways of relating and being that you've never done before. Because you're now moving into the realm of your heart. And as a child, we were in the realm of our hearts, and we knew exactly what it is that we wanted. I knew that I wanted to be this scientist, this mad scientist. I knew I wanted to deliver messages to people, and I call making my crowns and my wands. This is me doing scientific experiments and seeing what the heck does these crystals really do? Like, do they really do amplify your mental and help to clear the field
Mhm.
or to bring about manifestation?
Mhm.
So I've been doing this for a while, and it is totally working. So we're here to share our love and share our light and information in our services if you ever need them. You know, because a lot of us have been waiting for these moments. We have been prepared for the moment to where humanity has to go through a complete reset, and they have to get flipped upside down and nobody knows what to do. So now they have to face themselves
Mhm.
through IFS, which is what Michelle teaches, and through human design, and through our other friends doing quantum healing, hypnosis, and exorcisms, and Akashic record readings, and entity removals, and people that can sing to you and totally realign your entire auric system. So we have so many tools and so much just power at our fingertips, and now we're in the energy of sharing, because sharing is caring. So, clearing the crown, allowing in divine energy, clearing and cleansing the pineal gland.
Get that go-to cola herb.
Get that go-to cola, GOTUKOLA. Go to cola.
It decalcifies the pineal gland, which allows you greater access to your multidimensional intelligence and guidance.
Yes. And when you also have a decalcified pineal gland, your brain and your mental now has a clearer way to communicate and to see what's actually going on with life.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to experience healing.
Mm-hmm.
And these are some extra jewels that wasn't on our live.
Mm-hmm.
So the pineal gland does a lot more than what we think, but we're just giving you a basic overall jewel. Go to cola, please. That will help to clear and to decalcify that pineal gland so that you can open up to these new frequencies, so that you can start to see that your reality is a reflection of you. And this is going to be one of the biggest things that's going to be coming to light, because now we're moving into self-leadership, which is higher self-leadership. It's going to create a bubble around you. And now this bubble in your life and everything is going to start reflecting it all the way. So this is going to be a fine time to start to remove your attention and frequency away from things that distract you from living a life that you would, want to live, living in paradise, or whatever it is that you can dream up.
Or from narratives of despair and hopelessness and chaos and confusion, because
Yes.
every problem has a solution and every disease has a cure. And cures literally grow on trees.
Literally.
So, yeah, and speaking, so when we're talking about these crosses, for those who aren't familiar with human design, we're speaking about knowledge from the human design system. So everybody has their own individual incarnation cross, and then there's a collective incarnation cross that we go through as a group. So as Kayvon said, we're moving away from the cross of planning, which is very tribal. It has to do with bargains, and it was under the cross of planning that we came into the system where we pretend that the government isn't lying to us, and they pretend that they're actually protecting us. But of course, what's happened is they've been infiltrated by very negative entities that are not protecting us at all. In 2027, when we switch to this cross of the sleeping phoenix is very individual. The sleeping phoenix, by the way, it starts asleep, but when it wakes up all the way. So in 2027, we're going to be shifting into a much more individualized experience, and we're going to be called upon to really step into our individuality so that we can have a functional unity consciousness. If you're not truly yourself, if you're not clear on who you are as an individual, if you're not bringing your gifts, then you come into this cross just with confusion. It's going to, throw a kink in the wheel. Whereas if everybody knows who they are, if I know I'm a square peg and I stop trying to go into a triangular hole, and Kayvon knows he's circular and he stops trying to go into the square, then we can get in our lane, we can get in our right place, and that unity can also be harmony, as opposed to a dysfunctional unity with despair because nobody's being who they are. Additionally, at this 2027 mark, when this new cross comes in, ding, the solar plexus, which is the emotional center of the species, is going to complete its process of defining itself. What does that mean? It means that babies born from 2027 onward, you're not going to be able to lie to them. They're going to be immune to lying. And it's almost going to be almost like a certain autism where they're not going to succumb to the old, tricks and bamboozlement, and they won't just go along with the fakeness and the lies and the pretense, because they won't even have the capacity to be in that pretending or to be tricked.
Mm-hmm. And because the solar plexus is a wisdom center. It's our emotions, and it literally goes up and down until it settles. So in 2027, it's going to settle. Mm-hmm. And once it's settled, it means the wisdom process is complete. That allows us to move to the next rung. These children born in that next level will be born, like you say, with that level complete, mm-hmm. with the wisdom already intact. They will know how to take their time when it comes to making decisions. And this is what it really boils down to, is slowing down so that you can make the proper decision. And as you can see, this quarantine energy has everyone slowed down. Mm-hmm. So slowing down is the way out. So the way in is the way out. The way in is the way through, which brings you to the out, right? Which brings you out of the matrix. So this is how you're lifting out of the matrix, by going in and through.
And by going in and going through and expanding into your multidimensionality, instead of being in the narrow perception of the traumatized, colonized 3D realm, you open the perception, you expand your perspective, and now you have access to all these solutions and all these cures that you literally could not perceive from that limited perspective. So we're going to be creating a space to usher in all these solutions, many of which are already here, by the way. I mean, if 1/3 of the state of Texas grew hemp, it would solve the energy needs of the nation. So when these ning-nongs in the governments try to tell us that, oh, clean energy is too hard, or, it's not developed enough, or we don't have the capacity, or it's hard to find the solutions, it's nonsense, And so we really have to question who is motivated to continue with the system that's choking up the planet. Forget about whether or not global warming is a real thing or whether or not we're causing it. That to me actually has been a distraction to take us away from into drama and debating and away from the very obvious common sense fact that fossil fuels pollute, pollution causes disease, pollution is nasty. We don't want the pollution. Hemp doesn't pollute. It actually leaves the soil better than it was before you planted it. The solutions are already here. They're already here. So we got to separate from this bamboozlement, you know? And the truth of the matter is, as we move into this new cross in 2027, the background frequency is just literally not going to support the old system of the centralized governments, the bargains with the tribe. You know, these bargains with the tribe expects you to show up to continue the tribe, to keep this tribe safe, to continue the culture, whether or not your needs are getting met as an individual. That's the bargain. Yes. The tribe is going to keep us alive. It doesn't really care if you're happy or fulfilled. It cares that you're fed and that you have a roof over your head. That's the motivation. As we move into the sleeping phoenix, it's much more individual. So the reality is going to call upon you to solve things at the individual level more and more. So even like the welfare systems and stuff like that, which you could say is somewhat positive with our current system, they're going to dissolve. And we're going to have to really step into our power and stand on our own 2 feet. Now, that can sound frightening unless you've developed your multidimensionality. And then you know, no matter what is apparently happening in the external reality, your higher self can guide you to the food. Your higher self will help you make the decisions to be in a position where not only will this be exciting, but you'll be thriving. And you'll finally be able to release the burdens of all this trauma and all of this nonsense and all of the lies, so that we can really bring in the things that our soul came here to experience.
Yes, yes. Our soul came here to experience itself in its many different facets. So, you know, this new reality that we're moving into is called New Earth, Nova Earth. You know, and this new earth reality is all about self-leadership, all about love, all about passion, but it's about allowing us to experience what it is that we are, who it is that we are, you know, how it is that we are. You know, this is the gate. You know, the gate is open. The crown is clearing. Our crown chakra is the transmitter and a receiver. So we have to clear up the junk and the gunk so that we can transmit properly what it is that we want, but also so that we can receive what it is that we want. You know, so know that you have your ancestors, you have angels, you have the elementals. Know that you yourself represent all of the elements and the elementals. Know that you represent all things, and all things they represent through you, only if you allow it to. So we're moving into a new dynamic way of living, and it's totally different than how we used to. The reason why all of this this energy of our the children and the pedophilia and all of this stuff is coming to light, and is because we have been forever and for a long time dismissing our inner child. We have been the ones kidnapping our inner child. We have been doing this. Yes. And it's not to dismiss all of the physical 3D stuff that's happening. You know, my heart and love go out to all of that, all of the victims and all of that. But we have to know that from the highest level of the game, when you shut down your inner child, when you shut down that dream that you had when you was a child, that is essentially kidnapping your inner child, shutting that part down.
Putting it in a dungeon.
Putting it in a dungeon, and then now that reality plays itself out in front of you. Yeah. So we have to know exactly how powerful we are and exactly what this reality is. And it's a total mirror. It's not a halfway mirror. It's not a part way. It is a total mirror of what's happening inside of you, your thoughts, beliefs, and your feelings. So the more and more you clear out these old belief systems and old feelings, right? Like the way you feel, also you can change the way you feel. You may feel angry one moment, but you may feel happy the next. This is the wisdom of the emotions. And then you may feel clear to the point where you don't feel either or. So you have 3 levels of feeling, right? Happy, heightened, lower, and then neutral. High, low, neutral. You're looking for the neutral, and in the neutral is where we make all of our decisions.
And we don't get to the neutral by suppressing the high or the low.
Yes.
We got to release it. We got to allow it. We got to love it and have compassion for it. We just have to remember that at the extreme points, that's never the truth. The truth is always the calm inside the storm. It's the still center that's observing it all, but not identified with the left or the right, the top or the bottom, the good or the bad.
Yes.
The truth is in the full spectrum center that recognizes we are all of it.
Yes, and the only thing you have to do is make a choice. You see all spectrums. Your job is to make one choice. Which way do I go? Or do I create a whole new way? So you have that choice though, create a new way or go one other way. It's your choice. And life is going to show you every spectrum of it, from the negative of the negatives and the highs of the highs. And if you allow, and if you're open enough, you'll get a chance to experience it all, if that's what you choose to do. And in this new reality, there's no judgment, only discernment.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. I like that. And this is one of the things too that we've been speaking about for years in our videos and our coaching, the importance of self-leadership. What does that mean? Self-leadership means the higher self is in the driver's seat. Our inner divinity that is naturally compassionate, connected, calm, clear, courageous, confident, curious, and creative. That aspect of us is making our decisions.
Curious with a Q.
Oh! So we've been talking about that, and I know in previous videos I've said why this is of the utmost importance now, because we're entering an era where, again, timelines are splitting. The external authorities are giving us conflicted information. Even if you just look at diet, one person is going to tell you got to do paleo, you should only eat meat, stay away from carbs. Another person is going to tell you go totally vegan. Guess what? Vegan is going to include lots of carbs.
Carb central.
So that's why some vegans actually get overweight, because their body is not meant to take so many carbs. And their body may need more grounded food like the protein of meat. Other people are here to be vegan, and that's truly correct for them. So gone are the days where we can look for the answers externally. It's going to be too confusing out there and too chaotic. So now we can begin to learn how to really connect within. This is why human design is so useful. Strategy and authority in human design is about learning how your higher self particularly speaks through your unique design, through your unique mechanics and framework. When we have that, I gave the example in the live video, the grocery stores are empty, right? The stuff that we need wasn't in the grocery stores. And one day I woke up and my higher self said, get dressed and go to the grocery store now. I don't ever go to the grocery store in the mornings. We have our morning routines. I came to Kayvon and he said, oh, right, is it smoothie time? And I'm like, no, I'm going to the grocery store. I have to go now. And I went, and suddenly the grocery store was restocked and it had all the stuff that we needed. So your higher self is going to tell you how to get your needs met, even when the external reality is telling you it's gloom and doom and despair. So, and again, remembering a lot of the fear that's in the air now, again, I don't want to diminish the experience of the people who are actually processing the virus, have the virus. I have utmost compassion for those people, right? But for a lot of us, that's not the experience we're in right now. And a lot of the fear that's in the air, apart from the legitimate fear of people who are facing the disease or losing loved ones, there's a fear of the parasitical entities that are losing their grip. They've realized that their feeding sources are disappearing, that they're no longer going to be tolerated here, and that we're too woke for the joke now. So a lot of the fear in the air is these non-physical entities that have nowhere to latch onto.
Yes.
So that's ending, but just know that their fear is not your fear.
Yes, and you can allow that fear to blow away in the wind. Just easily blow it away.
Yes.
And blow it away with your breath. And for the people who are affected with that energy, know that following your heart, opening up to more love, right? Being alkaline. This is having an this is all we all know parasites cannot hang on to alkalinity. So alkalinity not only in diet, but alkalinity in thought. This is the time to take the high road. This is the time to let those past transgressions go, to have zero enemies, because it's not even worth it. If someone is trolling, then we just let that energy go and let them blow away in the wind, and we allow new energy to take its place. So this is the way we roll from here on out. This is the way you roll. Is following the heart, aka the higher self, allowing that to lead you on the way, knowing that we now have the tools, we have the teachers, we have the guides, and they're not invisible. They're here. We are here. We're making videos. We have been making videos, and not just Michelle and I, but our fellow brothers and sisters of the light. They have been out here doing their thing, so lots of them, and the prices vary, right? From donations all the way up to whatever you can, thousands and thousands, and but the key here is to know that the full spectrum is here. And what's happening is that you are transforming from carbon-based beings to crystalline-based beings, meaning beings who can survive off of prana and light. So when it comes to the diet, the real thing that's happening is that you're gonna find one day it's gonna be hard to eat, period.
Yeah.
Whether it's vegetables, meat, or anything, it's because of one simple fact: crystals don't eat meat, vegetables, or fruit. Crystals eat light.
And this new precipice we're on, the 2027, is moving us towards the crystalline human. It's Homo luminous that's coming in. We're in a transition now. And some of the confusion, I think this is where some of the splitting and fighting has happened in the light work community, is that there are some people who are way ahead of the game. There are shamans now that can eat a virus, spit it out, transmute it, and not be affected. There are shamans who can, I've seen a shaman suck the blood of an AIDS patient and spit it out in the healing process. Didn't get AIDS. There's people who are already at that level. So a lot of us, we have latent powers and abilities that have been colonized out of us. I had a client the other day who was able to levitate as a child, and his mom convinced him he was making it up. He would yell at her to come look at him. She refused to even go look at him. She didn't even witness it. So he shut it down. And all of us have done this. Even the quote unquote muggles have powers like this that they have shut down. You may be able to see across the veil, but as a child, your parents told you that's crazy, imaginary friends aren't real, or you saw something that was true that frightened them, you felt that, and it shut you down. So now is the time for us to reawaken that stuff. And just as we have been getting this fake news that humanity is horrible and awful, and we need to release that, we don't know what humanity is capable of yet. All we've known is a shut down, colonized, traumatized humanity. What's coming next is a whole new experience of what it is to be a part of this species.
Yes. And that's it. The fear that a lot of people are facing is this unknown. And like I said in the live, fear can only exist in two places: the future or the past. So be clear about staying in the now moment, staying present. The key here is being present every single day, being in gratitude. Gratitude has uplifted,
frequency, very high frequency.
Yes, gratitude has uplifted me beyond. So I am very gracious, and I am in total gratitude to be here, to be able to deliver this message, to be in good health, and to have a beautiful woman like Michelle sit here with me and deliver this message to you all, because we truly are giving this energy from our heart, and we really want you all to have an easy transition. And when I mean easy, I mean it can be difficult sometimes.
Some of it's uncomfortable.
Some of it can be uncomfortable.
But even good things, like I always use the metaphor. Let's say a pit bull is rescued from a fighting ring, and you're so gentle and kind, and you try to come at it with kindness. It's uncomfortable because this is very foreign to the pit bull. It has never experienced this. So it's going to be in confusion for a while. It may take several years before that pit bull can fully trust. But that's okay. It's a small price to pay for what's on the other side of the healing process. A little bit of discomfort, tolerating that, it goes a long way. If you're willing to step up and go through that, the universe will give you 100 times the gifts.
Yes. Yes. 100 times. So just know that you're now experiencing a time where it's important to go in to contemplate on what it is that you truly would like to experience, and not more money, right? Meaning
but more abundance,
or just your goals. I'm talking about if you want to be a painter, paint. If you want to be an artist, if you want to be an automator, if you want to be a mechanic, be a mechanic. If you want to, carve wood and create items and make beings out of them, do that. This is a time to where humanity is we're shifting into a more creative reality. It's not going to be that dog eat dog, like, competition and trying to survive. It's really just going to be about what it is that you bring to the table. What type of light is it that you are shining? So it's going to be important to go inside and to think about areas within yourself that you may have never thought about before. Because we're now being forced to go into ourselves, and this is a collective thing. We've been doing this every day. This is a natural thing for us, but it's not a natural thing for the collective. So you guys have support. Just know that we are out here. There's energies out here.
And there's lots of us. It's not like Kayvon and I are that. There's so many people
so
on this
many
healing.
People.
And if you want recommendations, I am always happy to recommend our colleagues and other coaches. We don't ever think that you should only come to us and no one else, because we want you to have full spectrum healing.
Yes. And this reality is about to get a lot more sci-fi. It's about to get a lot more weirder, super weird. People are waking up with power beyond belief. People are going to be living to ages that's unheard of. So we have to open up to all of these new possibilities and potentialities, because the planet itself is alive. The planet itself is growing. The planet itself is changing. And if we want to stay on it, we have to change with it. And that's what's actually happening. We're choosing to stay on it, and we're choosing to ascend with it. So we're going to change. Our form is going to change. We're going to start looking different. We're going to start behaving different. But just know it's moving more into the realm of light. We're moving out of the shadow. So it's going to be less shadow, meaning more things are going to be uncovered. The more things that are uncovered that are out of alignment with our truth, the better, because we will have a chance now to kind of finally clear it out. So uncovering all of these misdeeds, and having a president, a being there that's totally bringing, like, this dude is, I don't care what we say about him, but there's been so many arrests and so many of these pedophilic energies, and just going down, right? Like, just totally going down. A lot of people stepping down from big companies and, giving up their CEO and billion-dollar babies. So, this is not a normal thing, so it's just deep. It's so deep how much change this reality is going through in this short amount of time. So you all, need to know that we're changing for the good, and to keep your mind focused on what's happening right in front of you, right? Just right in front of you. Social media, right now is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So you have to really use discernment. So discernment, is connected to feeling. If a thing makes you contract, then that means it's a no. If it makes you expand, then it's a yes. And expansion is followed by curiosity, which is a higher self word. So if you expand towards a thing, then it's something that your soul, your higher self, is wanting you to pick up and wanting you to absorb. If you contract to the energy, then it's something within you that's saying no, and you're closed down to it. And it may not be something that will help you grow.
And remember, the mind and crown can bring inspiration, can bring ideas, it can create questions, it can create theories, it can create ideas, but the answers are not in the mind and crown. The answers are in the heart and the feeling body. So one of the massive messages of human design is learning to get out of mental leadership and into the leadership of the heart and body, the feeling space, going from mental consciousness to body-based consciousness. So we've said this before in other videos. In the past, we were doing mental decision-making. The mind cannot feel, so the decisions were cold. Mental decision-making allowed slavery, pedophilia, $6 minimum wage in the United States, which is
some places is $5.
Yeah, it's just, come on, nobody can live on $5 an hour. You work all day, and then they have the nerve to tax people, make you $5 an hour. I mean, it's preposterous.
Right.
So that's all mental decision making. When we get into the body, at first you may experience resistance. Why? If you are habitually not in your body, if you habitually try to eject and escape your feelings, there's a huge buildup. So if you haven't checked in for years, when you check in, it looks overwhelming and frightening. Similarly, if you haven't brushed your teeth in years, if you haven't flossed in years, and you try to floss and brush, there's going to be discomfort and bleeding, right? But if we floss and brush on a regular basis, it's not uncomfortable. On the contrary, it keeps our mouth fresh. It keeps our breath smelling good. Same thing with the work with the emotional body. So at first it might be intimidating. This is why there's coaches out here to help you. And again, my specialty is to heal the emotional body. But if something about me doesn't feel right for you, I've got so many people to recommend. So get in touch with us. We have guidance. We have help. And it's just important to remember that the answer is in how we feel, not how we think.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to talk about a few subjects back, we were talking about, abundance. So one of the things I've learned and come up against with abundance, we have concepts of what abundance looks like. And the typical idea in the collective is, oh, I just need to become a millionaire. I need $1 million, then I'll feel abundant. The vast majority of us actually don't need that much money to feel satisfaction, success, joy, delight, and peace. If you really sit down, you can make 3 budgets. The bare minimum, the comfortable, and then the dream. Even your dream budget, if you sit there and list everything you really, really, really want to experience year by year, you may find that $100,000 does it. If you don't have a family, $50,000 actually could work for you really well. So abundance, it's not about having too much, because having too much doesn't feel abundant. It will actually feel cluttered and pull you down.
Feel like a burden.
Having too little doesn't feel abundant. So finding the sweet spot of what does abundance look like for you? What does it look like for you? Some people, if you're a generator or manifesting generator, an abundant life may include lots of works of service. For other people, you don't have the energy to consistently be of service, so that's not abundance for you, and that's okay. So again, we're moving into more individuality, and in order for unity consciousness to function properly, each of us as individuals has to be clear on what's the shape of our puzzle piece and where do we fit in the puzzle. When we're in our own lane and we're doing what's really correct for us, the unity can flow.
Yes. And when you're in the flow, you're out of dis-ease.
Yes.
The river isn't dis-ease when it's flowing. It's in flow. It's clear. It's thriving with fish, right? Like a moving river is a beautiful thing and a sight to behold, because it's actually like making its way to a thing. And it's like nothing can stop it because it's in flow.
Mhm.
And this is you. This is us. This is we. This is how it is. Once we connect to the flow, which is fifth dimension, by the way, once you connect to the flow, your life tends to go. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I think we can.
We're supporting people to go from struggle and competition to grace and ease and elegance. That's what self-leadership and human design and healing the emotional body is about. So that you can release a lot of that baggage, release the colonized shell, release the trauma, transmute it so that you can literally take it out of your system and replace it with the high vibrational stuff that we came here to experience. That is our birthright. We do have to work for it a little bit under these colonized circumstances. But we're not here just to suffer and be miserable. That's not why we're here. Why would Source go through all the trouble of splitting up into 8 billion forms just for us to suffer? It don't make sense.
Don't make no sense. So now the fog is clearing. Pineal gland is clearing and cleansing. Our crown is clearing and cleansing. And you're now understanding that you're allowed to feel. You're allowed to cry if you need to. You're allowed to have compassion for your fellow man, whether or not they did good or bad. You're allowed to forgive. Forgiveness, remember, is a very, very, very important high dimensional tool of release.
And even forgiving these extreme people who've succumbed to the reptilian and demonic agendas and participated in all the child sacrifice, etc. In order to stop the wheel of karma, we've got to forgive even them. I'm not saying they should be allowed their freedom. They need to be locked up. They need to be taken away from the population because children have the right to be born into a planet where they are protected and safe, no matter what. But if we get into vengeance, if we get into punishment, if we want to make them suffer, that's just going to keep the wheels of karma spinning. Vengeance and guilt is causing people who participated in that negative stuff to reincarnate as children who get abused. Because once they die, something in their soul is like, oh my gosh, the only way I can correct this and right this wrong is to go and experience what I just did. And it just keeps cycling. So if we can get to forgiveness, even for these most extreme behaviors, again, not allowing it, but forgiving it, we can stop this karma wheel.
Yeah, we can let it go. We can dissolve it, send it back to source, and create a whole new game board.
Yes.
So
I got 2 more topics and then I'm done.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Maybe.
Okay, I just want to say something that had resonated on the live because I'm trying to, we don't really know how much, it was very choppy on the live. We had some literal interference, even in the form of a person who hopped on with some negative comments. So for us, Kayvon and I have lots of 3s in our chart. And if you know about human design, 3 is about experimentation and chaos. So for us, these times actually are where we can shine because we have the capacity to transmute chaos and to be present even in the chaos. And not everybody has that. So if the chaos is feeling frightening or overwhelming for you, that's okay. You might be a 2 that needs things much more orderly, and that's fine. There's a time and a place where we need the 2s, you know, and a lot of 2s, the priests, priestess are stepping up now, offering ceremonies and doing their beautiful work, but they're separating themselves from the chaos, which is their role. We are here to be in the chaos. And one thing I noticed is that normal life for me often was bringing me to a lot of depression and despair and even that death wish impulse, because under normal circumstances, everybody, from my perspective, was just living under pretense. We were under that keep on keeping on type of reality where we just keep going through it, put your head down. You might even know that something is wrong, but we weren't stopping to say, okay, the buck has to stop here. Like I just gotta put a period at the end of this sentence. So now we're being pushed into this reality where we're forced to really stop, invited or forced to stop and really reconsider what aspects of normal life do we really want to return to? What aspects of normalcy are really worth resurrecting, right? So a lot of us, I just want to say, I know a lot of us have been suffering with depression and despair. A lot of us wanted to exit this reality many times. but we made it this far. And I have a lot of compassion and understanding for our brothers and sisters who did exit the reality because it was too painful. And I have no judgment over that. And sometimes you have to leave and go to the higher dimensions to get the healing because it's not available in your timeline here. But for those of us who made it, some of us, we've made it, and now we're here, and now it's our time to really step up and shine because the background frequency has totally changed. And by the way, the gate of shock in human design was activated for the collective when this virus came out. So we've been shocked into an initiation that's very uncomfortable. But in crisis is opportunity, and there's an opportunity now to really get clear. What is abundance for you and what isn't? What have you been bargaining your life away over? What is really the truth? Are we really in scarcity or is that an illusion?
Yes.
So, and then do you want to say anything to that or can I go to the final?
No, I'm good. Yeah, you said it.
Final topic is, I know that this caused, static in the live, but I really want to talk very briefly about the whole Obama-Trump thing. A lot of us got what I was calling Obama-boozled. We got bamboozled. He was presented to us as the great black hope. He campaigned about hope. People thought, oh, he's really gonna, change the country. Finally, a black man in office. And for the collective consciousness, black people have been used strategically because in the collective consciousness, we think that black people are more moral and righteous. Part of this is because the races actually represent different elements. The black race, so-called black race, represents water, which is feminine. The black race is the most feminine element. And just as collectively, we have a belief that women are more moral and more kind, we also project that onto black people.
Also, brown. What you was gonna know, I know you're gonna allude to with being red, but I want you to say is brown and red are the same.
Yeah.
And in this country, we are brown and red people mixed with black people. So the brown is the earth. Earth is very upright, very upstanding, very solid. So
and it's also one of the more feminine races.
So
it
we
goes
are getting
like
projected
black,
on.
Yeah, black is the most feminine. Then you have the red and brown. Then you have the so-called yellow. And then you have the so-called white, which is the most masculine. And in order, the black is the water, the earth, brown or red. The yellow is air, and the white is fire. So the racial divisions ultimately have been, the metaphysics of that is it's causing a war between the elements, which makes no sense. But we had to go through this contrast and confusion. In the stages of alchemy, you have to separate before you bring things together. So we've done the separation. And I know there's a lot of politically correct people who, insist there will never be post-racial, racism will never end. And maybe they secretly like the racism. Maybe there's something in them that's getting off on it. But we live in a reality that is actually moving into the post-racism space. Yes. Not that races cease to exist, not that the elements cease to exist, not that difference is gone. It's not about being colorblind. It's about getting over the ignorance about what the colors mean. We live in a neighborhood with literally every single race represented. When we go outside, there's children of all colors playing together. And they don't even seem to have a concept that this would ever have been strange on any timeline. So we're moving towards that. But just be aware, for example, they took Colin Powell and made him go out and tell the lie that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. When the 9/11 thing went down, I was living in Australia. I'm half Australian. I'm also an Australian citizen. So I had access to journalism that was not available in the United States. And I saw footage of Colin Powell getting angry behind the scenes when he was being forced to go speak to the UN with a lie. He knew it was a lie. Why did they choose a black man? Because they knew that the collective would say, oh, black people are more moral because they suffered through slavery, they have more empathy, they're closer to the heart space, they're more soulful, we can trust a black man. They did this also with Obama. So my invitation is to recognize that just as many of us discovered Obama was not what he seemed and was not what we hoped, Trump is not what he seems, and Trump is not what we feared. There is something more going on behind the scenes here. And I want to briefly, quickly tell you about some experiences we had with Melania and Trump on the astral. Kayvon actually invited Trump into his office for a human design reading on the astral, and Trump came in willingly. Not everybody does that on the astral. Not everybody says yes. He's had experiences with other people that resisted. Trump immediately said yes, came in and took a nap.
Yeah, came into the house to get a human design session. Fell asleep because he was too tired.
Yeah.
Because he was super tired. So I just allowed him to, I told him to rest up before our session or whatever. So, it let me know that his energy it was something different about this dude's energy. Because if you come to get a session with me, it means you really, you want to know what your role is and you're ready to wake up.
You gotta at least be open to the light side on some level.
You gotta be open.
Or you wouldn't be able to stand to be around Kayvon, which is what happened in our live feed. There was literally a demon popped on who started talking, saying terrible things. He couldn't stand the vibration.
Yeah.
So that got us curious. And this was a few years ago. And Kayvon told me the dream. I'm like, ooh, maybe I need to open my mind about what this man is doing.
But also with the Obama thing, I also did a human design reading for him. So Obama came to me as well in the dream plane to get a session. And I was saying this in a live about how what we have to understand about him is that he has two sides. And the side that we projected on the Great Hope, that was the side that, that was the projection. The two energy is the projection field. His energy is this, he's a 6-2. The 2 part of him is unconscious. So he put on a mask and we all saw this mask.
The 2 wears masks.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So he had a mask on, but it was an unconscious mask that he didn't even know, that he may not have known that he had on. Mm-hmm. So it was, I feel like, his energy when he came into the office, it was a lot of blocks. It was a lot of rigid movement because he is a 2, and that 2 will bring about a more rigid reality. But it will also, to me, it was just fear. Like I felt his energy it had a lot of fear energy. His hair went from jet black to damn near white in 8 years in his tenure in office. That's not a good sign. Like the dude had to be in some crazy fear or in stressful situation. So I have compassion for him on certain levels of the game because I feel his energy was just in fear. So we definitely got bamboozled because we, like you say, from all of those reasons, thinking that, we've been, a black man is supposed to be is more upstanding, but it's mainly, it's the Indians here. When you think about an Indian chief, you think about a very upstanding person that you can trust. The higher ups know that everyone here we're Indians.
Yeah, a lot of the so-called African Americans are actually not African.
Yeah.
And this is another thing that's going to be coming out more and more and more. The hidden archaeology, the hidden histories. Black people were here before the Europeans came and colonized. They've been here. There are Black people that are native to the Americas.
Yes. But that's a whole other subject.
That's a different video.
But just hitting on, the Obama thing, I just wanted to make sure that people understand that that he had 2 sides. And it's a side, and the other side is what we kind of was hoping for, right? But we got shown another side, which was a side that pretty much just acquiesced to whatever needed to get acquiesced to. He tried to do some things, but I feel that agenda was just, it just was a setup, like you said.
Yeah, it's a setup. Like, people are celebrating that we got Obamacare. What is Obamacare? Oh, we're going to increase access to a medical system that poisons you and cuts out organs and cuts off body parts as a solution to your illnesses.
As opposed to herbs and...
Is that really something to celebrate? Oh, we got more access to a demonic medical system that's really a death cult. Yay! You see how hypnotized we've been? So just as that's very uncomfortable to see that, it's also uncomfortable to consider what's going on with Trump. So I want to tell you about my dream. In my dream, I met Melania, and she was very upset with Kayvon and I. And she said, I can't believe you of all people would betray us like this. Because at that time I was really thinking, I'm just already, my guys have been telling me for a long time that government as we know it is over, and I've seen the infiltration, and I've seen just how the reptilian demonic realm has taken over people and compromised people. So I was just done with it. I don't vote anymore. I was like, well, we're just going to have to wait for this to play itself out. So I had dismissed Trump as just another part of that. So Melania comes to me in the dream and she's telling me how upset she is. And she starts showing me these things that look like raised beds for gardening. So, people who do raised beds, they had like these concrete slabs and they were these long rectangles, maybe about this high. And she was unearthing stuff in it, like it was an archaeological dig. And I woke up and I told Kayvon about it, and we were trying to figure it out, but we couldn't figure out what was this row of planting beds that there weren't plants in them though. There were like these objects and symbols and things. So my guides recently told me to start investigating the QAnon thing. What is it? Just get curious. So I started getting curious. And in one of the either QAnon posts or one of his followers or supporters, assuming it's a he, maybe it's a she, some people say QAnon is JFK Jr., who faked his death and isn't actually dead. I don't know. All I know is we're entering into a reality where a lot of surprises are going to happen. So I'm keeping my crown clear and open. I don't believe it or disbelieve it. I'm just curious. Anyway, I followed up on the list of names that was posted of survivors of these, satanic ritual abuse things who are now out testifying, spreading the word, telling everybody they somehow survived and escaped. The vast majority don't, but sometimes they do. So I happened to choose one of the names. Turned out she was Australian. I'm Australian. And I followed it up and I started researching her. I found a documentary on her. In this documentary, she was taking the journalist to a site where a lot of the sacrifices happened that she had witnessed, many, many children killed. And the camera is panning across this, area of wild, a field. And there were the raised beds that Melania was showing me. They were the graves of the children that had been killed. So Melania was showing me in the dream, you two light workers are betraying us when we're actually here trying to uncover, unearth, and expose these evil cabals. Now, I only trust that because it came from the higher realms. And I didn't go to bed looking for that. I definitely was not a fan of them at all. So that really woke me up. And then when I started investigating the Q phenomenon and follow the white rabbit and the adrenochrome that's shaped like a rabbit, and when you draw out the chemical construction of adrenochrome, it looks like a rabbit. We could go on and on. I'll leave that to you to research. I just want to plant the seed that, again, just as we were tricked by Obama and he wasn't what we hoped, Trump may also not be what we fear. And it seems to me, after much research, and please understand, I don't deliver messages until I do a lot of due diligence and really research and investigate. Through people who are insiders, through speaking to military people, through really researching it and following up on the questions and the links that Q provides, it does appear that there really is an infiltration from the inside out, known as the white hats, that is really taking this cabal down. And Trump is in fact playing fourth dimensional chess with them. So there's rumors now that he's starting to pull back the powers of the Federal Reserve and moving towards bringing back the gold standard. Apparently he's bought lots of gold recently. And that's what JFK was trying to do. And they killed him. So the wonderful thing about Trump, as rude and brazen and egotistical as he is, the fact that he seems to be like just immune to criticism or critique actually makes him the right man for the job. Because if you're coming up against these very evil, frankly, very frightening, powerful people, one of Trump's bodyguards was poisoned because they're actually trying to poison Melania. They are trying to hurt him, right? So imagine what it takes to stand up in the face of that. You can't be a fearful 6'2". The 6 takes things personally. The 2 goes between fear and boldness, right? Shyness and boldness, fearfulness and boldness. Trump is a 1-3 manifesting generator with a defined ego. The defined ego means he has extra willpower, and also he can be a bit egotistical. But you see, that egotistical nature is what is allowing him to just shut out the fearful threats from those negative entities and those negative people. He's going up against the Rothschilds. Come on.
Yeah.
Do you have the guts to do that? We need somebody who's that ridiculously egotistical, who's also a one, who's very focused, who can only see his perspective. It's pioneering. And then the three in the back is the martyr. His unconscious is a martyr. I honestly believe that he has the potential to start pulling this apart from the inside out. And even though he is a billionaire, he was an outsider to politics. So let's just open our minds about that. You want to say something?
Yeah, and it's just the fact that he's a 1-3. The 1-3 energy for the human design is the agent of change. But this is a chaotic change. This is a pioneering change. So the fact that there's a president who is a 1-3 energy, to me, is just an open and shut case. He's here to bring total change. And the total change, what we want to happen is a change that fits us. And the only way you're going to get a change that fits you is if you step into self-leadership. If you allow your higher self to make a decision for you, regardless, because I haven't seen any future timelines to where there are presidents. So for whatever's going on in front of our face right now, this is only for a limited amount of time because we can govern ourselves. But, for the time being, the system has to break down. And if I was a creator, I would totally put in an energy to change and break down the system, which is that energy. That energy comes in to change and break down systems in order to build new ones. So they're not just an agent of destruction, it's an agent of change.
And pioneering, bringing in the new.
Bringing in the new.
And then the last comment on this is just be aware that there is a campaign to make sure that the melanated people think that Trump is their enemy. Now, again, I hear people saying, Michelle, what are you talking about? Did you hear about what he's doing at the borders of Mexico and all this sort of thing? You got to understand that what's happening with the karma in Mexico, okay? From a sorcerer's perspective, there's a lot of funky stuff that has gone on there. There's a lot of weird stuff even from before the colonizers came. Right now in Mexico, there's very extreme crimes happening. There's very extreme human trafficking. Kidnapping is normal in Mexico City. It happens all the time. The levels of crime there is way more vicious than what we're used to in most parts of the United States. Even when we have these mass shootings and so forth, the crimes in Mexico, there's a lot of stuff that's like really, really demonic that's happening. So when Trump is trying to build these walls, he's actually trying to stop the human trafficking. He's stated that is his purpose. Now, the fact that it rolls out in 3D and he ended up separating children from their parents, that's just something that's very confusing. And I think that's just part of the 3D misdirect. I'm definitely not excusing that. Nobody is saying that that's appropriate or okay. But we are looking back and looking at it from another perspective. And it's because that it's very easy to convince the people of color that he's bad, right? But if you have the melanated people having this belief, that's going to affect how this all plays out, right? If you have the melanated people in resistance to what he's trying to do, it's actually going to make it more challenging to shift over because a lot of people right now are not able to see that Trump is actually trying to defeat this cabal. So as Kayvon said in the live, remember also when we talk about melanated people, the most melanated of all, the so-called Black people, are the water people. So if the water has this belief, the water goes everywhere. And everyone is going to, be affected by what the water is doing and feeling. So I just see that there's definitely a campaign to convince people that Trump is all bad. Now, just like Obama wasn't all good, Trump is not all bad. Again, nobody is excusing some of this crazy behavior. We're just saying, consider that there's more sides to the story, just like there was other sides to Obama that we didn't anticipate. Now I've said my piece.
Yes. And now that you said your piece, we are about to say peace. And I just
111 again.
111.
It just took an hour. We need an hour for this message.
We needed an hour for this message, and the last live was 111. Yeah. So we're gonna end it on that note with love and with light and with 3 ohms. To seal in the prayer, to connect to our ancestors and our guides and our angelic forces, to anchor in protection, strength, abundance, clarity, and expansion, ingenuity, creativity for all sentient beings, anchoring in forgiveness for all sentient beings, honoring all elemental forces known and unknown, connecting to and being in gratitude for our true, divine, unique source expressions. In complete gratitude, we seal the deal of this prayer with 3 ohms. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all who came to watch this. May you be uplifted into the highest frequency. May all of your dreams come true within this now moment. All of your positive dreams. So it is.
And may we experience the beautiful truth of what humanity is, uncolonized and untraumatized. May we experience humans in the heart space, expanded in loving unity while also respecting our true individuality. Ashe.
Ashe.
Amen.
So it is
Amen.
manifest.
Thank you for listening.